Our favorite border czar, Tom Homan, had to bring a reality check to Miss Christmas blanket jacket Dana Bash over here, or as some of you guys like to call her, Horseface. Because now that Trump has really gone after the Somali community, which we're going to start the clip right there, it's put the White House in a tough situation because he's saying a lot of politically incorrect stuff. And Dana Bash wants to know and wants to press Tom Homan about, why is ICE going to Minneapolis? There's a bunch of Somalis. They're all legal. They can't possibly be illegal, any of them. Despite the fact that Minneapolis is a sanctuary city. Protects illegals. Yeah, no illegals are going to come there, right? Tom, get her. It's Sean Daniel here. Sunday Marathon. New haircut. Had to clean it up. New shirt. Looking classy, I think. You can let me know down below. Let's go.
President Trump is doubling down on his efforts to restrict both illegal and legal immigration to the U.S. and launching new ICE raids on Democratic cities after this tirade against Somali immigrants in Minnesota.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
No. Here with me now is President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan. Thank you so much for being here this morning, sir. I do want to start with the new ICE raids in Minnesota. They are sparking widespread fear and uncertainty among people in the Somali community in the Twin Cities. Now, that Somali community in Minnesota is about 80,000 people. The vast majority are U.S. citizens or legal residents. So what is the reason for sending ICE there?
Look at Tom Homan's face. He's like, honey, I am not ready for any of your BS this morning. So get ready.
Well, look, we also know there's a large illegal Somali community there. There's illegal alien community, large illegal alien community there. You know, if you're a U.S. citizen, you know, you have nothing to fear. We're looking for criminal aliens. And also, if you're a resident alien, you have a, you know, like a felony conviction by statute, you could be set up for deportation. So we're looking for public safety threats, national security threats, and illegal aliens. Nothing's changed, Dana, from day one.
I've talked to several state and local officials who've said that the number of Somali immigrants who are living in the U.S. illegally there is very, very small, and that this is about scaring people more than it is about arresting criminals. So what have you actually accomplished with this operation so far in Minnesota?
Well, we're just starting, and I disagree with the fact that people, you know, even we don't know how many illegal Somalis there are because, remember, in the last 4 years in Joe Biden, there's over 2 million gotaways, known gotaways, people caught on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic that crossed the border illegally and weren't apprehended, weren't vetted. And so, you know, what President Trump's doing is fixing the last 4 years of the open border where millions of people are released in this country, many we don't know who they are. So we're going to do the same thing in the Twin Cities we've done across the nation. We're going to focus on those illegal alien public safety threats in these cities. And you know, if they weren't a sanctuary city, I mean, many of these people would be apprehended in the safety and security of the county jail. But because they're a sanctuary city, we got to send more resources there to flood the zone because it takes a whole team to find somebody in the community where it would take one agent to arrest one bad guy in a county jail. So this is exactly what President Trump promised American people we're going to do, and that's what we're doing.
This is how dumb her argument is. So there's not that many illegals, according to a source of CNN that she has on the ground. Because, you know, they've interviewed every single Somali in Minnesota, right? In Minneapolis. Secondly, how can there be no illegals there if Minneapolis is a sanctuary city? Would you put sanctuary city policies in place if you didn't want illegals to come there? Now, she probably has a point that a lot of them are legal immigrants through marriage, through family ties, because once you get married or you get refugee status in the United States and then you become a citizen eventually, you can basically bring your whole family over. Doesn't mean it happens instantaneously, but when you get that green card and citizenship, especially citizenship, you can just bring them all over. So there's probably a lot of legal immigrants in Minnesota and Minneapolis that we've also seen on different videos where people talk about how much they're taking over, how they don't assimilate. But that doesn't legally mean you can get them out of the country. But if they're there illegally and they're there to get protected by the sanctuary city policies, which are in place, Dana, which, you know, if you put honey out in the forest, bears are going to come. If you put sanctuary city policies in place, illegals are going to come. But CNN's source, which is highly reputable, says, well, there's not that many illegals down here. So Dana's like, okay. That was a horse face joke.
So you are confident that once this operation is over in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities, you are confident that you will unearth many more illegal immigrants in the Somali community than people who are there, local officials, state officials, believe actually exist?
Look, we're going to arrest every illegal alien that we find there, but again, we're going to prioritize the public safety threats, national security threats. These are target enforcement operations. And, the success has been proven in Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, North Carolina. I mean, every city we've hit, we've arrested a lot of criminal illegal aliens. I looked at the numbers today, by the end of this calendar year, we're going to be around 600,000 deportation, in the majority of them being public safety threats.
Do you guys think they should only be going after the criminals, or they should just be getting every illegal they can? Because I know what I think, and it's not the soft answer that CNN wants. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Minneapolis, the city, and a councilman there in particular, Jamal Osman, who was born in Somalia, told CNN that, quote, Somali citizens have been stopped on the street, asked to provide documentation, and that he never thought he'd have to tell people to carry their passports around because they look Somali. Are ICE agents stopping people because they look, quote unquote, Somali?
No, they're not. The law requires agents are trained in Fourth Amendment training every 6 months. Border Patrol's trained in Fourth Amendment training. They stop. You can detain and question people for a short period of time based on reasonable suspicion.
And what is that suspicion?
Federal statute.
Is it based on how they look?
No, their appearance alone can't raise reasonable suspicion. It's articulable facts, a lot of different facts taken into consideration. And the Supreme Court just backed the Trump administration up on this. I know a lot of the media says, the Supreme Court just justified racial profiling. That's not what the Supreme Court said. Supreme Court said they agree with the way these operations are being conducted because the standard of reasonable suspicion is being used by both ICE and the Border Patrol in the interior operations.
The Supreme Court that CNN loves to quote about how Trump is getting out of line. Trump lost a case within the Supreme Court, or one of his appeals got denied, And now, when they say, hey, ICE's operations are working fine, they don't want to mention it, or they say it's racial profiling. The Supreme Court just said it's okay. But Dana, in her Christmas blanket jacket over here, she knows better, right?
Mr. Homan, the president said very clearly this week that he doesn't want Somali immigrants in America. He called them garbage. Is that the real reason this operation is happening in the Somali community?
No, I think President Trump's referring to public safety threats as national security threats from Somalia and every other country.
Well, he didn't say that. He said
he's not from day one.
No, he's not.
He talked about the whole community.
Well, look, I'm not aware what the President Trump was thinking when he said that, but I agree with President Trump. From day one, he has said, we are concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. He was put in the Oval Office to run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen. That's exactly what we're doing. That's what American people voted for. So there's numerous countries that President Trump's, is looking at everybody that came up from these countries, make their vetted properly. Some of these countries don't have the proper systems in place to totally vet somebody, so we don't know who they really are. So President Trump's taken upon himself in this administration to make sure anybody that came to this country illegally that we find, and those that came in through a vetting process that weren't properly vetted, because they don't have the database and information to ensure they're properly vetted, that we're going to relook at those cases and make sure they're properly vetted. And we have all the data we have from them. Some of these countries don't have the databases we have. And some of these countries don't even do the proper checks before they issue a passport to their citizens to come to this country. So President Trump's doing the right thing. Make sure everybody that came in illegally came in through proper vetting, especially from countries that are related to terrorism or are somehow related to high numbers of overstays or high number of criminal aliens in this country. That's what he's doing. He's protecting America, and I agree with 100% what he's doing, Dana.
But Tom, that is not what we want to hear. We want to hear, yes, Trump is right. These guys come to our country. Their brother's gotten married here. Their sister got a green card. They don't even want to speak English. They make whole communities feel like they're home. So no, we don't want them here. Get the hell out of here. Even if you had a legal way to be here, we don't want you here. Does that mean we can deport you if you're here legally? Not necessarily. I'm not going to speak on that. That's what we want to hear, Tom. Because it's true, they don't assimilate. There's so many instances where they don't. Look at videos of Minneapolis, and it's just Somali. They have people in office that weren't even born in the United States. And not because their family was on vacation. Okay? The councilman in Minneapolis that she referenced was born in Somalia and then came here probably through some family program. Somebody was a refugee or something. And now he's making decisions in a city. That tells you how many people there are that are Somalian there, that a guy from Somalia was able to get in office. That's just an estimation. I don't have exact facts. But that tells me how many Somalis must be there and how he must be catering to them. Which is a shame because I've heard a lot of good things about how Minneapolis used to be. Not anymore. Come on, Tom. Tell us what we want to hear, man. That's why we watch these Sunday videos. We want to get juiced up. We don't need this PC crap.
The Department of Homeland Security posted on social media this week that ICE does not arrest or deport U.S. citizens. Just the other day, I want to show you some video. There was an incident of masked ICE agents targeting a 22-year-old mother in New Orleans, chasing her to her home, even though she told them she was a U.S. citizen. And then there was this video, which I am actually going to show you. It was an incident in the state of Florida. Now, she was released once they found her driver's license in her car that said she was, in fact, a U.S. citizen. So if ICE says it doesn't arrest U.S. citizens, why do we keep seeing incidents like the one I just played, so aggressively pursuing people as they say they are lawfully in America?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I started as Border Patrol in 1984. Through my nearly 4 decades of work, I can't tell you how many times an illegal alien claimed to be a U.S. citizen. It happens all the time. But it's getting back to what I just said. Reasonable suspicion. If they have reasonable suspicion, stop and question somebody and shortly hold them and detain them briefly for questioning. If they have reasonable suspicion, they can stop. So do I think there's been 0 U.S. citizens that have been detained for questioning because reasonable suspicion said they may be in the country illegally and may have an issue with that? But as soon as that questioning is over, if they're U.S. citizens, they'd be released. It takes probable cause to arrest somebody and actually, transport and take them into custody. So, I'm not aware of these specific cases, Dana. I'm not there, but I'm going to have faith that the ICE agents are gathering articulable facts for reasonable suspicion to detain somebody and question them.
So there's reasonable suspicion that you're talking about. There is releasing somebody once they're comfortable that they are a U.S. citizen. And then there's just the aggressive tactics that we are seeing in video after video. You're comfortable with those tactics that we're all seeing with our own eyes?
Look, threats on ICE officers are up 1,200%. They're being doxxed on social media. They're getting death threats every day. They've been attacked. They've been shot at. And these officers out there look for the worst of the worst, so they're protecting themselves. And I think they're following the law. And if any ICE officer, Border Patrol agent, acts out of policy or does something inappropriate, they'll be held accountable. But we got to remember, they're under attack, and we're at a place in this country where all of a sudden the ones who enforce the law are the bad guys, and the ones who broke the laws are victims. I'm going to trust the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol who've been trained very well. They're doing the right thing. But I'll say again, if someone does something inappropriate, out of policy, illegal, they need to be held accountable. But I simply think I haven't seen that. And again, I'm not in every arrest. I'm not in every operation. I trust the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol to do the right thing.
Just because there was a section of a video of a woman getting detained, saying that I'm a U.S. citizen, and they eventually found her driver's license in the car, just because there's a 3-second video clip of that does not mean that she was not being hostile beforehand, that they maybe didn't have a police checkpoint, an ICE checkpoint, and they started asking questions, and she started being bitchy back to them. It doesn't mean that she was sitting there being respectful and like, oh, yes, sir, well, you're doing these checks. Well, here's my driver's license. I've born here, raised here. Here's my info. Thank you. Oh, okay, thank you, ma'am. We have no idea. Just because there's one clip, and there's been a lot of these clips where people have been giving ICE a bunch of issues, and then they get detained, and then they get released because they're actual citizens. Well, if you're so damn hostile, it's just like police. If the police stop me because my tail light's out, and I start giving them problems, and then all of a sudden I'm on the ground, and there's a clip of me on the ground saying, oh my God, it was only my tail light. What are you doing? Maybe I should show some respect to the police instead of having such an attitude. That's maybe what happens in some of these situations that we have to think about when you see the clips. Now, does that mean that every single time ICE does something, that they're doing it exactly right? Probably not. You know people. I know people. We all know ourselves. And when you get thousands and thousands of agents over and over, especially when they're dealing with such vitriol back, such hatred back every time they have a stop, I bet you sometimes they maybe get out of line. So let's not be naive that maybe some things don't go as according to protocol as they should. But let's also not be naive to how people treat these ICE agents and possibly get in a situation where they're a U.S. citizen and they're on the ground in handcuffs. It's SeanDaniel here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let's keep the Sunday marathon going. I got the next interview right here. Another liberal getting destroyed. Let's go. See you there.